Hey folks, Clint Powell here. This is During the Break. Let's do this. Three, two, one. What's up, man?
Hey, good to see you again, man.
Hey, good seeing you. So we're not talking, I'm not going to ask you to give me the science behind COVID, the vaccine. I'm not going to ask you about religion or politics. Are we good?
Thank the Lord.
Yeah. We might talk old school gyms. You know, we might do that.
That'll work.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's start right there. Tell everybody, Mandy Livingston. I know that face. Mandy says she knows you.
She's been here a few times.
Well, that's a good jumping off point, though. You train people. Tell everybody what you do and the name of the place and all that, and then we'll jump off.
Yeah, so I guess I help people with their fitness and overall health goals. Sometimes that being competition. Sometimes that just being fitter or being more capable to handle life. So Julie, my wife, we do that here at the train station, and we are in kind of North Hickson area.
Yeah, and you come from an athletic background. You were a basketball player, or were you a multi-sport player?
No, just basketball. I was too skinny to do anything else, believe it or not.
Well, you were skinny then. How much do you walk around right now at? And real quick, tell everybody what you walk around at, but you're not one of those bodybuilders that gains a bunch of weight and loses it. You kind of stay within 10, 15 pounds, don't you?
Yeah, well, I do now. I mean, I learned the hard way. You know, I've 10 years ago, I probably spent plenty of winter seasons at 300 plus pounds.
Wow.
But, you know, it's one of those things, you have to do it, and then you figure out, okay, maybe that's not the best way. And I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. But competition weight now, lately has been more around 250. It's been more than that in the past. And so, I haven't done a show in almost 3 years now. So, you know, my body weight's actually under that. So, you know, I've been as low as 230 lately, which is a lot more comfortable.
I was going to ask, do you feel better? Does your joints feel better? Because you're getting a little older now, sir.
I'm definitely, I just turned 46 a couple months ago. So I'm feeling more the past few years, the value of feeling good moving forward. About what I got going on right now and in 1 month from now, it's what am I going to have going on 10 years from now? And yeah. I want to be able to move and walk around.
So I had Diamond Dallas Page on my podcast last week, and he talked.
Best podcast ever, by the way, man. I mean, I listened to that twice.
Oh, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Well, he talked about that in there. It's something what you said. He doesn't train for how old he is. He trains for how old he's going to be 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah. I'm the guy that needed to hear that too. Because I'm right in that middle part where, you know, I want to, you know, of course I would love to compete again, and I would love to duke it out with the young guys and, you know, see what I got left. But at the same time, I'm beginning to appreciate, you know, what I was once able to do, and realizing that may not be the case anymore.
All right, so I'll be a little full disclosure here, and then I'll ask you a few questions. I went in before Thanksgiving, I think it was. A friend of mine owns a gym over here, and I live in a bubble because I've just got some pre-existing conditions. I live in a bubble. I try to work out. I've got a little gym, nothing big here, but I got a heavy bag. But I said, I have not been in a gym in 2 years. I want to go deadlift. So I called my buddy and said, hey, can I just come in to deadlift? And he's like, man, come on in, deadlift. I'm like, all right. So I go in, I put 185 on the bar, and I got it like 15 times. Do you remember? I've not deadlifted in years. I'm like, that felt pretty good. So then I said, I'm going to do 225. Well, I got 225 like 10 times easy. I'm like, so then I thought, I'm going to get 275 for 5. And I got it pretty easy. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool at 53? Well, I was 52 at the time. But wouldn't it be 53? Wouldn't it be cool if I got 315? Just see how many I could get it. Well, I got 315, 8, and I could have got it more, but I was like, I'm going to stop because I don't want to kill myself. Dude, the next day I thought I was going to have to call an ambulance.
That's that maturity we're talking about here. You came to your senses. Because had you done that, you probably would have had to go to the hospital.
Man, I was for 5 days, literally, I was dreading going to the bathroom, putting my pants on. I was like, I was making noises. I was using Flexol and rubbing it was terrible. I was like, okay, I can't do that no more, man. I just can't do it.
Yeah, no, that's what I do. I look at the guys that are a little older than me and ahead of me in this whole thing, and try to, if I can avoid the mistakes and learn from theirs, then I'm going to try to do it.
I know you're known for bodybuilding. You train, not only do you train people like me, I mean, you train people for functional fitness. Like you said, you train a lot of people that just want to feel better in their bodies and have a better life, but you also train other professional bodybuilders or people that aspire to be professional bodybuilders. But I think one of the things you've become known most for over the last year is being Sean Whitfield and Darren Johnson's sidekick on a podcast.
You see, I got the Fit You shirt on, and I'm representing Darren's Fit You on Facebook now, because I don't know if anybody out there wants to send Darren a friend request. You have to double click to be approved. It asks you if you want to be sure you want to be his friend, because he may be the source of misinformation, and so I'm representing him because he may not be with us on Facebook.
Yeah, he may be in the Facebook jail because he is very opinionated, and that's okay. And he's got his own. What'd you say? Say it again.
I say he's a frequent flyer in Facebook jail.
Yes, he is. But he also has his own podcast, which I'm enjoying. He just started that recently. Here's a serious question for you. You've gotten into the podcast world around the Chattanooga Fitness Expo and other stuff. Are you liking podcasting, or is it still something you do because people ask you to, or do you look forward to it?
No, I do look forward to it. I've really enjoyed it. It's been an outlet. Of course, being with Sean and Darren has been just a good time. So it's recreation in my mind, but it is interesting. It's an opportunity to kind of talk about what I have a passion for, and if hopefully put some educational stuff out there every now and then. And if people can, have a good time with something that they can incorporate in their life that'll improve their health, then, that's really why we do it.
Do you guys ever do what me and you did on one of the first couple of podcasts that we did talk about old school gyms? Do y'all ever reminisce about other gyms back in the day?
Man, Darren and I start going down that road like off the air almost every time. So Sean has to bring us back to, the topic for the guest. But no, if it was called Chattanooga Fitness Expo with Matt and Darren, that'd be the only thing we talk about.
All the gyms from the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s that everybody would go. But that's too, let me get your opinion on this and take your gym out of it. And this is where I get to be the old guy and go back in my day. Gyms were different back then. I remember the gyms that I grew up in. You had it's almost like school, right? You had your cliques, you had your power lifters, you had your showboats, you had your cardio, you had different, and they all got along. But it was okay if you were grunting and making noise. Everybody knew there was that one showboat in there that would like roll your eyes at, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's everybody's so segmented now. The powerlifters have their own gym. The CrossFitters go to their own place. The bodybuilders tend to bounce around and, stay with each other. And then you have now, you said the word gym. Now you have these fitness facility palaces that are more for the people that aren't really interested in any of that. They just want kind of a fitness facility. But what you're talking about, back when we came up, everybody went to the same place. And there was a camaraderie there, even though I don't power lift and I don't do weightlifting, I can train next to those guys, or I appreciate what they're doing just like they appreciate what I'm doing. And that is the piece I think that's kind of gone now.
Yeah, my son works out at one of those, I'll call them gyms. I have trouble calling some of these places gyms because they're so odd. And my son doesn't make any noise. I mean, he's not the slammer of the weights guy. He's 6'1", he's 185 pounds. So he's not, and he's strong, but he's not throwing weights. He's not dropping 405 on a deadlift. And he's not, but they'll come over to him and go, hey, I kid you not, he actually had this happen last year. They came to him and said, the weight you're lifting has the potential to bother some people. He was trying to deadlift like a little bit of weight. And they're like, hey, we're not going to be able to do that. He's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's a shame. I mean, to me that those serious lifters, to get to that level that you're talking about where somebody's lifting weights that might bother people, it's that, in a lot of regards, that shows how much time they've put into it, and they have a level of expertise to be able to get to that point. And that it's those types of experts that we need in the gyms for the newcomers to learn from.
Do you know a guy in Chattanooga named, we used to call him Dr. Bob Jabrowski?
Oh yeah.
Well, so he's the guy. I was working out. It used to be LA Fitness a long, long time ago. I was deadlifting, and he walked up. Easy. We've had this conversation. Dadgummit. So back, I'd gone from Eddie's gym in East Ridge, and then I was over there, and I was deadlifting, and Dr. Bob came over, and he had the fro at the time, and he was just a powerlifting guru, squats the world, and he's like, hey, gave me some tips. Well, I was 190 pounds. I went from deadlifting, and it's not a lot of weight, but for me it was. I went from deadlifting like 450 2 or 3 times. I was deadlifting over 5 pretty good, pretty easily, I didn't have straps at the time. Anyway, and I graduated, but he gave me these tips. And I'll tell you why I said that, because I was working out with this big group of guys, and it humbles you to work out with people like that. Because I worked out with guys that would take my max for 5 and 10 reps. And they were letting me work out with them though. And it wouldn't bother me. I wasn't insulted or intimidated. I was like, I hope I can deadlift 700 pounds one day. Now I never could.
I tell everybody all the time, I was very blessed to kind of come up in that exact same environment you did, because I learned so much at a fairly short amount of time from these guys being around them in the gym. And had I had to figure every little thing out by myself, I would have, I don't know if I would have accomplished half the time and twice the, so it was a blessing back then. And I think that's a big thing that's missing now, is with everybody being separated and in their own places. And, because everybody can learn something from bodybuilders can learn a lot from power lifters and weight lifters. Mm-hmm. And when you really keep up with these things, bodybuilding is kind of a common type of training philosophy that is embraced with almost all sports now. And when you're not around those people in the gym that you're training in, which everybody's got online now and everything, but there's nothing like learning something firsthand from someone that has done it themselves.
Yeah. And one thing I will say is I've gotten older looking back on it, unless you're a pro bodybuilder like yourself, and you might agree with this or disagree with it, even as a bodybuilder, but unless you're specific, if you're an elite CrossFit athlete, but most of a good, healthy, active lifestyle is going to incorporate probably movements of all of them, right? There's going to be times in my life I'm doing a bodybuilding type movement or principle for a couple of months, or powerlifting or CrossFit or cardio. You extract a little bit from everybody. Right.
No, I agree with that 100%. And that's part of the problem too, is you get online and people are arguing about that. This way is best and this way is terrible. And, if you do this, you can't do this. And we never thought about it that way at all. It was all meshed up together, and, it was cool. You actually wanted to go do all of it, and it did nothing but benefit you.
I miss the days of when I would be in my apartment. I wouldn't feel like working out. I was 23 years old, and I would go to GNC, or I would go see Ed Jones over at Nutrition World, and I would get the Joe Weider magazines, Muscle and Fitness or whatever. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm getting off my fat ass and I'm going to the gym, by golly. I'm going to go do it.
Oh, yeah. I remember going to the grocery store, wherever, every month when the new magazines came out. And then
Flex.
You get back for another month with motivation.
Yeah. And then you'd buy, they always, one thing I've always tried to find is they used to have in the back of those, all those great t-shirts you could buy with all the cool sayings on them,
Oh yeah.
and I was the guy that would like, I'm going to buy the t-shirts. Then I thought that's a good way to get your ass kicked, Clint. You don't need to be walking around in that t-shirt, dude. You're not Darren Johnson, for the love of God. Don't do that. What are you doing?
That's the truth.
Yeah. All right. I've asked you these questions in the past, but let me just go ahead and throw them out there because there's people that may not have listened to one of our other podcasts. Do you have a favorite bodybuilder?
Wow. Yeah, man, there's so many. I don't know that I have an absolute favorite. But it's an influence from all of the greats over the time. Definitely started with Arnold though.
Yeah. Yeah. How about your favorite or your first gym you remember? The first gym you remember being a member of, that, because we were talking about old school gyms. Is there a gym you go, that was my first gym?
LA Fitness Hickson. I mean, you already said it. I didn't when I was in high school, of course, and I went to school in North Georgia, but by the time I, was in college and in the summer and stuff, I found my way to LA Fitness, which had just changed from Gold's Gym. It started as Gold's. I missed out on that segment, but LA Fitness, and then it was Cosmos.
And then it was Club California, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot that. It was Club California, I think, after Gold. So I might have missed that time frame too, because it was definitely LA Fitness when I joined.
Yeah, I joined the LA Fitness over in Fort Oglethorpe. That's where I was. That was my home forever. And so I started when I was 18, working part-time, and then I became the full-time manager, 18 or 19. There used to be, I think I've told you this, there used to be a gym on Brainerd Road. There's a Chili's, and right next to Chili's now there's a tire and auto mechanic place across from Applebee's.
Yeah.
It was Living Well Fitness Centers, and I was the manager there for like 2 years. I loved that place, man.
Yeah, I never got to go there. I know when Julie and I met, she had came over to what was Cosmos, that same place. But she had trained at, I think it was New Lady Fitness, which had moved into where you're talking. They had where Living Well was, I think, turned into all women's for a period of time. And that's when she very first started, and didn't like the ladies only thing of it. I think she needed, more serious training environment.
Yeah. When I first started working at LA Fitness, it was this way for the first 6 months. It was regular during the week, but on weekends we had co-ed. So, I mean, on men or women's only. So like for one weekend, it would be men's on Saturday and Sunday on Brainerd, but we had a location in Northgate that would be women. And the next weekend it would switch. After about 6 months, they said, hey, it's not 1960 anymore. We need to cut that crap out. And we need to, flip that over and stop that. But then it became New Lady. I'll tell you when I got a little disenfranchised with working in the gym industry, because I always thought I was going to run or own a gym when I was growing up. When LA Fitness, right before it closed its doors, the managers came up from Alabama. They owned it and managed it. And they said, hey, we are shutting the doors. We're starting a new company. These memberships that you're selling now for $199 or $118 a year, we're going to sell them for $69 for a year, cash. And I was like, okay, but you're closing the doors. He goes, yeah, get it all in while you can. Get all the cash you can while you can. And I'm like, but is their memberships going to be good? He goes, probably not. I don't know. We need to sell you've got 45 days. And I quit 2 days later. I'm like, I can't do that.
That is the same type of story how Julia wound up opening our own gym. So of course we met at the Cosmos, and I was just out of college trying to make my way as a personal trainer, and she just happened to work out there. So that's where we met. And then, we dated and got married, and I'm trying to build a business within another business. And that's exactly what happened to us at the time. Is the manager at that point pulled that same stunt, and we went through at least 3, maybe 4 different owners. So of course, every time their doors closed, we're out of business too temporarily. So then we start over, and then so we went through that enough, and we finally just had enough of it. So we got to do something on our own.
Yeah. And Chris said before it was Living Well Fitness Center, it was Roman Health Spa. Yeah. And I think before Roman Health Spa, it was 21st Century Health Spa or something like that. I can't
That's,
remember.
I think you're right.
That's old school. All right. Hey, let me ask you a couple quick questions because I told you I wasn't going to keep you super long. Let's give some fitness stuff out or some training tips. Is there one mistake you see people when they come to you, they're making with their food? A mistake that a common misconception or something people are screwing up that's kind of a common theme between all of us?
The biggest thing that I feel like I'm debunking constantly are these feeling like you have to be in a trend, or in a sect of dieting. You have vegans and carnivores and keto and it's almost like you have to, um, you know, put yourself, it's like a religious type of thing almost. You have to belong to one of these groups. And, my point is always, let's just get back to looking at healthy eating and identifying foods as could this be healthy or could it not be? And that's a good first step before you start worrying about carbs or counting everything. A lot of people just get lost when they start counting stuff, and they don't even know what they're counting. So look for quality stuff first. Is what I tell people is don't worry about what rules you may or may not be breaking. Just really kind of have your own definitions of what is healthy and what's going to benefit you and what's not going to benefit you, and start with that.
How about training mistakes? How many times do people come to you like me? I'm an old school guy. I know what I'm doing, right? And you have to kind of re-break the arm that's healed wrong and kind of reset it. Like, dude, you shouldn't be doing that, or you need to do it this way. Is there a common training mistake you see people?
It's kind of the same thing, and it's we're often beholden to these supposed rules that everybody thinks are in the gym. Like if you go to the gym, you got to bench press, right? You
I'm
got to
glad you said that. I was about to bring that up.
But if you're telling me, you used to bench press this, but now when you do it, it only hurts your shoulders and your elbows, I'm probably going to say, you know what? How about we don't bench press? Like, there's an idea. The good thing now in the modern gyms, there's all exercises are tools. You set what job you want to do, and most of us are not training for a sport or a specific activity. We're training to improve our bodies and our health. So really all we're doing is we're trying to work on improving our output from all these little components throughout our body, and what you want to do to orchestrate those is really what you do outside of the gym. But I tell people when you're in the gym, it's like taking your car in for a tune-up. You want to make sure all the little pieces are tuned up right. If you take your car in and everything's spot on, but you're missing a battery cable, you're done. Something as simple and as small as that. And so I relate it to that. It's like, well, there's some people out there say they don't do bicep curls. They're not functional. And I would say, tear your bicep and then tell me how functional you can possibly. That's the way I look at it is I'm going to kind of individualize and help people optimize and make good choices on that. Again, and maybe curling with a barbell or a dumbbell, or that's not for everybody, but there's probably is a tool in the gym that suits you and it doesn't hurt. And that's what we're looking for. So I would let go of the supposed rules. You don't have to bench press. And if you do bench press, you don't have to do it on Monday. So that would be my best advice is don't worry about all that.
Yeah, you got to tell some of us to let that ego go. We walking by the bench press to go to the dumbbell stack. So we're like, hey, that's not. I'm supposed to lay down. Yeah, I've kind of given up. I'm trying to figure out what to do with my bicep curls because when I curl now at the intersection right up here on the inside, it gets real sore and I'm stretching. So I'm kind of doing what you're saying. I'm reevaluating. How do I get a good bicep workout without the traditional thing because it just starts hurting and I feel like it's getting weak. So I'm in that way now.
Yeah, we all got, especially as we get older, we got to go in the gym and just kind of assess what are we even eligible for that day. And the worst thing we could possibly do is force ourselves into something that it's just not there that day. Like if you squat down with no weight on your back and your hips and your knees and stuff, they're talking to you and they're hurting. It might not be the best day to put 100 pounds on your back and force yourself down in that position, you know? So
Yeah.
I talk about, I call it eligibility, you know, and that changes.
Yes, it does. How about foundational? You mentioned about being out of the gym, and we'll wrap it up with this last question. Things you do out of the gym. Is there a habit? Let's say somebody comes to you across the board that have no real habits in place. They're not tracking anything. Is there a habit you would say, let's start with this one because that's one of those foundational habits people need to be aware of?
You know, I talk a lot. I'm a big fan of Charles Poliquin, and he always had a mantra that was, and he would say, you know, discipline is a myth. And so I kind of extrapolate on that because people are, as they're trying to form habits, it's usually something that they feel like they have to do, but they may not be real excited about it. I would recommend people will take a step back and let's explore and find that thing that maybe you're excited about, and let's start with that. You know, and it may not be the coolest thing ever, or it may, you know, you're not gonna, I'm gonna start keto tomorrow, or I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times starting next week. Back up and maybe there's something else in there. You know, maybe you like going for bike rides, or you know, doing something else. You know, I would say start with those things that stimulate you, you know, and really interest you, and get those habits in place that may come a little easier, and then you can build off that later.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to pick the things that you feel like you're being pressured to pick by society and social media or anything else.
All right, here we go. Softball question for Matt Davis. You like coaching basketball, elementary school age basketball, sir?
I do. I really do. We got practice tonight. Now, other than the fact that we were still looking for our first win this season. But yeah, it's 4th and 5th grade boys, which is what our son is. But I really enjoy seeing them progress. I mean, they are getting much better and they're much improved. So are the other teams. But it also exposes them, you know, when you're in a competitive environment, that's kind of real world right there.
Yeah.
You know, it's you go in and you got to believe in yourself and do your thing, or you're kind of get run over. And you know, if you don't have that little, you know, sports can kind of teach you that. And so I'm enjoying, you know, being a part of that, and it makes me, you know, maybe helping keep me feel young anyway, being involved in something like that.
Yeah, you know what was hard for me because I was very active in coaching my son and my daughter up until they hit 7th grade, and even in the 7th grade wrestling, I tried to help, you know, assist a little bit when they needed a dad coach. One of the things that was hard for me, that was good for me as a dad, but it was hard, was to let my son or daughter go out there and totally win or get their butt kicked, and I have to let them experience that on their own. Now I've got the ride home and tomorrow. But in that moment, I couldn't run out and hug them. I couldn't tell them they're going to be okay. I had to let them absorb it on their own. That's hard as a dad or a mom, man.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'll tell you, I've been really pleased. Our son Maddox, you know, he's, the car ride home is not fun. He is not in a good mood, and he doesn't like. And, you know, the dad in me wants to comfort him and wants to tell him it'll be all right, wants to tell him we'll get him next time. But the competitor in me, and having been through similar situations, I think, you know, this is good. This is the correct response from him, because he's not just going to forget about it and go on. It's going to be something, and hopefully that carries over into how they approach, you know, the next practice, or, you know, incorporate into their work ethic, because you need those feelings. You know, you need the highs and the lows.
Got to have some balance, man. You don't know what good feels like if you've never felt bad. You know what I'm saying?
You know, and some of the greatest winners in sports and in life are born out of, you know, really bad losses or really bad circumstances. So
yeah,
you know, it's you gotta take those experiences and learn from them.
Hey, I want to encourage everybody to go check out the Chattanooga Expo Download podcast, which where you can hear Matt and Sean and Darren, and they have some great guests, women, men, competitors, nutrition. You talk about all of it. You had one of my good buddies on there. I think y'all had Chuck Carter on a couple of times, and he's a good dude. And I'm going to do something real quick. Shout out to Chuck Carter. I don't know if there's a more hardcore mindset on planet Earth than Chuck Carter.
Man, I love that dude. He's definitely a throwback. You know, the guys I help now and the younger guys, they've not been exposed to that. You know, like I've any success that I've had, I have to attribute a lot to being around guys like Chuck, you know, of just having this mentality that was different, you know, and so I also got to put a plug in for the show for the Chattanooga Fitness Expo, June 4th, 2022. Chuck was one of our judges last year, and I guest posed last year. It was an amazing, you know, event. Totally unlike any other bodybuilding event I've seen in 25 years. And so anybody that's interested in that thing, this is a great segue from kind of a gala style outing that, you know, we see a lot of here in town, but with bodybuilding, you know, as the subject matter. And so it was a lot of fun.
I liked it because it was more than a competition. It was an event. It was something you could spend your evening with, whether you really go, I don't like bodybuilding. It didn't matter. There was a lot of who's who there. There was great food. The atmosphere was good. So I think it's one of those things. If you're a sponsor, you ought to look at jumping on board. If you're a competitor, you should for sure want to be on that stage. And if you're just wanting to buy tickets, just go sit amongst it. And there's energy in that room, dude.
The energy, I tell you, I haven't been to a bodybuilding show in at least 12 or 13 years, I bet. When you leave, when the show is over at the end, the whole audience is still there. You know, you go to most of the shows now, with the exception of maybe like Mr. Olympia or something, but any of the local shows, even Mr. Tennessee, something like that, there's nobody there at the end. People come to watch the one person they want to watch, and then when they're done, they're out of there. And I was blown away at this show. It was packed at the end of the night. I mean, everybody stayed all the way till the end because it was entertaining and it was fun. You know, I think everybody had a good time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mandy said it was a blast. Can't wait for this year. Yeah, I think everybody's looking forward to it. Because after you've had a successful first year, it's interesting to see what the promoters do the next year to make it a little bit better, tweak it a little bit. So it's always fun. That second year to me is probably the most challenging for the promoters, but it's also, I think, probably one of the best times to go experience it for the first time because it's going to be great.
I would agree. And of course, I get to hang out with the promoters, you know, with doing the podcast and, you know, just being good friends. So some of the stuff talking about, you know, improving on and implementing is just going to be even better. So it's, you know, I can't wait. It's really going to be a good time.
Yep. And just in case, are you taking on new clients right now? Or are you guys full?
We are very full, but we do try to, you know, we do try to keep a close network, you know, and you never know, like there's always a revolving door, you know, circumstances come up and some people move or they have to leave or, you know, so, you know, I always want to talk to people and, you know, if I can't get them in or Julie can't get them in, hopefully we can help them find, you know, somebody that we would approve of and somebody that's qualified to help them out in what they want to do.
Yeah, they can just go Google the train station gym and here in the Chattanooga. You know, you're more in the Hickson area, or you're more in the lake site. Where are you guys at exactly?
Yeah, lake site. So we're about a mile past where you would exit Hickson Pike to go to Chester Frost Park. You know, so anybody familiar with the Lakeside or Dallas Bay area, the Food City and the McDonald's, which is the two that have been here forever, and there's a lot of other stuff now, but we're right in the middle of all that.
Sounds good, man. I know you're super busy. I appreciate you taking a few minutes in the middle of the day, dude.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Now, I just glad so I can text everybody now and say, hey, I was on the same show as DTB.
Man, what did that? Wasn't that fun though, having him on? It was so much fun, man.
Oh, dude, I mean, just hearing his voice had me. I listened to it. It was I was on driving home. You know, this is at 9 o'clock at night. And I'm thinking, man, I might turn around and go work out again tonight. Like I was getting fired up.
Yeah. It's just so many good stories, and I was so lucky to get him on. So we'll see. He said he might come on in 30 days. I'm doing a little bit on his app. I'm going to try to see about the flexibility side of it, but we'll see. But it was fun. I'm glad he came on, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Good seeing you. Bye, everybody.